Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Crochet and Crime. My name is Hazy Baby, and if you are new to this channel, I crochet while talking about crime, usually Australian crime, but I have a couple of stories out of America today. I don't know why I did the wiggle fingers, but apparently they're needed right now. Today is the 19th of April 2023, and yes, if you are new to my channel, could you please like and subscribe? You know, somewhere over there. If you're on YouTube, then I think it's somewhere down there or up there. Anyway, wherever it is, just click on it. Just do the little clickies and follow me if you love crime. Well, talking about crime. And you happen to also like someone crocheting at the same time. Okay, see you later. Hello and welcome to another day of Crochet and Crime. Like I said, my name is Hazy Baby and I am working still on Evie, as you can see. If you are new to my channel, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. Evie is the current project that I'm working on. If you are old hat to my channel and you just come on here to watch Evie grow, then I will show you what I have completed. So I've completed the middle square. The 4 side pieces are now fully complete. And now I am doing the corners before joining them all together. So this is an almost completed square for the corner. And before you ask, no, I don't have a pattern because I'm an artist and I just make stuff up as I go along. I just do what I want. Yes, I have thought about writing patterns, but I don't think I am that good at articulating what I am doing. Maybe I could do a podcast on patterns. If that's something you'd totally be interested in, then leave me a comment and I will look into it. Honestly, I will look into it. 100% it is something that we could do. So this first story is out of Queensland and it's regarding a man who threw a frozen Coke at a car before he assaulted the driver because, you know, everybody's so ragey. Everyone's getting so ragey, getting their rage on. Alrighty, so a passenger of a car threw a frozen drink at another car before assaulting the driver at a set of traffic lights on Queensland's Fraser Coast. Of course, sparking a police appeal for information. A blue 2004 Mini Cooper, oh, I love Mini Coopers, a Mini Cooper S was travelling along Saltwater Creek in Maryborough at about 1:30 p.m. last night when a small white sedan began tailgating. I know this is not funny, but I just find road rage comical. I just don't understand why people are getting so upset. So the male passenger of the white sedan threw a frozen drink at the Mini Cooper while continuing to drive dangerously, police have said. When the Mini Cooper stopped at the set of traffic lights, the passenger of the white sedan got out and verbally started an altercation. So, you know, some words were spoken. Obviously, not very nice words. The Mini Cooper drove off and then stopped at the intersection when the same man, armed with an implement, approached the driver. The man leant through the front passenger side window, assaulting the driver before returning to the white vehicle and driving towards Kent Street, police said. The 50-year-old man who was driving the Mini Cooper suffered facial injuries. Okay, it's not funny anymore. I would be absolutely petrified. Oh my God. Police are appealing for anyone who saw this incident or the moments leading up to the assault. Please contact them. If anyone has any dash cam footage, they would be greatly appreciated. So, yeah, if you live on the Fraser Coast and you do have that footage of a white sedan and a Mini Cooper S, I mean, Mini Coopers are kind of like hard to miss because there's not very many of them and they're still cute. So if you did witness that incident and you do have cam footage of the incident, if you could please contact your local police station, that would be fantastic. Okay, moving right along. Although before I do, I must say that I think road rage, the reason why I think it's so hilarious is because it's absolutely ridiculous. The only people that can hear you getting upset are the people that are in your car. You being upset at somebody else is not going to make them a better driver. No one suddenly became a better driver because someone yelled at them. If anything, it causes you to panic. So just don't do it, okay? You want to be ragey? Fine. You go rage at home, yell into a pillow or something. I don't know. Sort your shit out. But clearly there is nothing in the world that is worth getting out of your car, not once, but twice, to assault somebody. I mean, unless they... No. There's just nothing. There's absolutely nothing, because it all has a certain course and a certain avenue that you can take. So seriously, grow the beep up. This next story is out of Perth, and it's a mother of two who has been identified as the stabbing victim. Which is so sad. So a woman's partner is under investigation and police guard at a hospital after she was allegedly stabbed to death in front of her own daughters. Absolutely devastating. Emmerich Lustier, 35, died in the Royal Perth Hospital last night after being found with serious injuries at her home in Knutsford Avenue in Kerdale. So I didn't really read this story out properly, so I will do a caveat for the rest of it now that it is obviously a story about domestic violence. So if you are sensitive to domestic violence, please scroll on. If you need help in a domestic violence situation, please ring 1-800-RESPECT or go to the www.respect.org.au for the Australian website. As you can see, I'm pulling apart an old project that I started because I need this colour. I suddenly decided with my ADH brain that I needed this colour. So don't judge me. It's called upcycling. It wasn't used for anything else. It was just a project that I started that I didn't have a commission for, and this is a commissioned piece. So yeah, use what you have. Something dark side. Okay, moving on. So police alleged that the mother of two was beaten and then stabbed, leaving family members desperately trying to save her. So they're now investigating whether her 37-year-old partner, Stephen Dean, was responsible for the beating, because they don't know. Witnesses said that they heard screams coming from the home just after 8 p.m. She just ran out onto the front of the house and then the back, screaming, and then the kids came out with her, is what their neighbour, Roslyn, had said to the 9 News team. Absolutely devastating. I'm absolutely devastated. Those poor children had to watch that. That is horrible. She was screaming, the young child was screaming, "Mama, mama, mama, no, 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 pick me, kill me, kill me." And then everyone was screaming, apparently, like a massive, bad, awful screaming, and it was just this blood-curdling scream, according to the neighbour. Police allege Dean, who has not been charged, fled the scene in his grey Ford Ranger Raptor dual cab utility, holding up a service station in East Victoria Park before crashing into a tree at James Street. So I don't know what his plan there was, but obviously he was going to unalive himself. He wasn't. He was arrested in a backyard in a nearby home. Read on, Hazy, before you make assumptions. He was taken to the hospital in a St. John's ambulance where he remains under police guard. In WA, police said that the homicide squad detectives are investigating the circumstances surrounding the woman's death, and police are appealing for any footage or information on the Utes' movements before the crash. So, if you are seeking support and information about suicide prevention, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14, so that's 13 11 14. If you know someone who is impacted by sexual assault, domestic or family violence, please call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732, or visit 1-800-respect.org.au. And if it's an emergency, please call 000. That's what that service is for. 100%. Hopefully I will have some more news and some more updates on this story as it unfolds. But for now, that's all I have. He he's in protective custody, basically, in a hospital. And she, unfortunately, did not survive her injuries. I do not know what's happened to her children, but hopefully they are with other family members. And they will be needing a lot of therapy. And off to another stabbing. This time it was outside a Sydney club after a man was trying to help a security guard that was being threatened. So a man has been rushed to hospital after being assaulted and stabbed outside of a club in Sydney's northwest. So the man said he sustained wounds to his chest, and side after being stabbed twice just before 4 a.m. outside the Riversby Workers Club. He was trying to assist a security guard who was allegedly being threatened by a 73-year-old club patron with a knife. So he was trying to stop the security guard from getting stabbed and ended up getting himself stabbed instead. So the man was taken to Liverpool Hospital with a serious but stable condition, so that's good. I'm glad that he's stable. Police alleged that the 73-year-old had been excluded from the club, and then he allegedly returned to threaten the guard with a knife, because that's totally normal. It's a totally normal reaction. You don't get let into a club, so you go stabby, stabby, knifey, knifey. Yeah, well done, genius. Alright, so that was a very simple edge on this one, as you can see. Started out with a circle, and now it's getting closer and closer to this nice simple edge. This is just step 1 of this row. The second row is 2 half double crochets and then 1 into the middle of the previous row, in this previous row here. So it creates kind of like a spacey sort of effect. I think you can see it in the background of this one. See this one? Looks like Space Invaders. Alrighty, 2 down, 2 to go. Let us see what happened, if there's any more information. So he was wrestled to the ground and he was held there until emergency services arrived. This is after he stabbed the other dude, so that's nice. Yeah, but I am glad that someone else stood in and stood up for this security guard. So you suppose you should be happy for the small bouts of humanity, I suppose. This story is more like the first one, with some more road rage. I don't know what's going on today, peoples. I don't know why everyone's all of a sudden really road ragey. Like, seriously, like I said in the earlier video, it's really not worth it. Don't understand why you're all so upsetty spaghetti. Calm down, calm down. So an alleged road rage attack led to a run and then an altercation in Sydney. So a group of alleged road rage attacks, so a group apparently, are on the run after a violent altercation in Sydney's southwest overnight. So police have been told that 3 people in a white Toyota Hilux ute, male driver in a black Toyota Hilux ute, began arguing in Bankstown at about 8:40 p.m. So this one is in Sydney. The other one was in Queensland. So they're all just losing their tiny minds. Everyone in Australia. What was it, a full moon last night or something? Anyway. So both cars So police have been told that 3 people in total was in, and both cars began to drive away and then crashed at an intersection at Restwell Street. So they crashed again before the black ute left the scene. So they were just playing like grown-up bumper cars by the sounds of it. They were like, yeah, you want to take this outside? No, fuck taking it outside. How about we go take it into our something-ton trucks, smash them in together like they don't cost thousands and thousands of dollars to fix. Douches. Sounds like they're just as bad as each other. So the black truck driver or ute driver left, and 3 people were in the white ute, a 44-year-old male, a 21-year-old male, and a 33-year-old female, were reported the incident to Bankstown police. Okay. When they left the station, they returned to the intersection where they collided with the black ute for a 3rd time. I'm not making this up, people. This is real. So it's literally the same ute has come back to collide with them again. This is craziness. This is absolutely batshit crazy. I can't make this stuff up. This is great. Police say that they attended the scene after the multiple calls to 000, claiming that 3 people from a white ute were being attacked by up to 8 people. Officers said when they arrived just minutes later, the attackers had fled. 3 people from the white ute have suffered minor injuries and were treated at the scene but not taken to the hospital. So if anybody has any information about this camozzle of a thing that happened last night, they're asking you to please call Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000. So, absolutely hilarious. I know it shouldn't be funny, but it sounds comical. I can't believe that full-grown adults have behaved like this. I mean, seriously. Your mama ever teach you not to argue, not to fight? It's not worth it. You just don't hit people. It's not worth it. Can't believe that. Like, how angry did they get? And I have so many questions. Like, when they crashed into them the second time and then they fled the scene, the white ute people drove to a police station to report the incident, then went back to their ute, and by the time they got back to their ute, they were crashed into by the black ute again, this time with 8 people in it, apparently, according to bystanders. And then by the time the police had come, they had gone again? Like, I just don't understand. What was the concept here? What got them so aggravated? Why did they crash into each other not once, not twice, but 3 times? I don't understand. I have so many questions. And hopefully they'll give us some updates. Alrighty. So this story is out of America. Of course it is, because it involves guns. And we all know how I feel about that, because I'm savage and I let my opinions be known. So, a man in a wrong turn shooting disliked trespassers, neighbours said. So, when Kaylin Gillis and her friends took a wrong turn into an upstate New York driveway last weekend, they couldn't have known the property was owned by a man who was obviously delusional and absolutely batshit crazy. But according to the neighbours, he had grown increasingly bitter over the years of people driving onto his land by mistake. Yeah, let that soak in. By mistake. They mistakenly driving in and he's getting the shits. So, this time the error proved fatal. The landowner, Kevin Monaman, fired on Saturday night, killing 20-year-old Gillis as she and her friends drove away after turning around the long dirt driveway, Washington County Sheriff Jeffrey Murphy said. So Monaman is a 65-year-old and he was arrested for second-degree murder and charged and remains detained pending a bond hearing. And I honestly believe that he shouldn't be allowed out on bond because he just got so angry over something so trivial. Who the hell shoots at people for making a wrong turn? You crazy, crazy man. Damn. One of his neighbours, Adam Matthews, who runs an auto repair shop in the nearby Salem, said Monahan had become more and more upset in recent years as people kept making wrong turns onto his driveway. I'm just a bit overwhelmed, Matthews said in a phone interview with the Associated Press on Tuesday after speaking to other news outlets. It's a really tragic event, and I agree, it really is. Murphy said that Gillis and her friends got lost while going to a nearby neighbour's house. They were driving 2 cars and a motorcycle when they turned onto Monaman's driveway. As they realised their mistake and turned around, Monaman fired 2 gunshots at them as they drove away, Murphy said, killing the 20-year-old instantly. So, that's nice, she says, sardonically. One of the bullets struck the rear car of Gillis was in and it hit her, causing a fatal injury. Murphy said that Gillis's father, Andrew Gillis, said in a Facebook post on Tuesday that his family is devastated. Caitlin was kind and beautiful, an array of sunlight to anyone who was lucky enough to have known her, the post said. She was just at the beginning of her life, and she always filled the world with kindness, humour and love, and she was taken from us too soon. And I agree, and for something so stupid. Andrew wrote that his daughter was an honest student, a talented artist, and was looking forward to attending college in Florida with dreams of becoming a marine biologist. Our family will never be the same. Oh, it's not Caitlin, it's Kaylin. Well done, dyslexic. And our family will never be the same without Kaylin's positivity, optimism, and joy. How will we ever learn to live without her, he wrote. Monoman's lawyer, meanwhile, spoke publicly for the first time Tuesday, calling the sheriff's version of events superficial and simplistic account of what actually happened. Well, I don't think there is any excuse for firing at anyone. So I'd like to know how he's going to weasel his way out of it. The attorney declined to talk about the details of the shooting, citing that the pending criminal case it would affect it, apparently. He feels that there was a series of mistakes that led to this tragedy. Yeah, one of them being that he had a gun to start with, just saying. If he didn't have a gun, then he wouldn't be able to shoot at people. That's simple. But he doesn't believe his client is a villain. I do. But not every case with a tragedy has a villain in it. Because it's not a story, it's real life, dude. So no one's saying he's a villain, although I'd agree that he is. He shouldn't be shooting at people. It's just so unnecessary. Ugh. I'm so agitated. I'm so agitated by this story, guys. It's made me mad. Alright, I'm going to move on because it's actually really pissing me off. But she had 2 younger sisters in grades 7 and 9, and she will be sadly missed for something so goddamn stupid. Sorry, I had to just go do a quick trip and find some more of this colour wool because I'm running out. So hopefully this transition for this one won't be too much. Hopefully I'll be able to get across around it enough. So this next story is actually out of Spain. And it's regarding a TV series called Big Brother, and I am sure anyone who is around about my age remembers that it was super popular here in Australia. Anyway, so Big Brother Spain is still going. Big Brother Australia I'm not quite sure about, but Big Brother Spain is still going. Yeah, I've always had a problem with reality TV shows because I think they're very far from reality. I'm savage about my thoughts and feelings, so if you don't like a girl who talks for herself and has her own thoughts, then please scroll on. Tell your story jogging kind of thing, because I am very opinionated, but you don't have to stay here and listen to my opinions. I've always had a thing about reality TV, especially shows like Big Brother, as I feel like they're a huge invasion of privacy and they're putting people at risk because they're putting people all together in one house, mixed genders, and I just feel like, yeah, I know this camera's on 24/7, but what happened is exactly my biggest fear. So Big Brother Spain contestants sentenced over a sexual assault of a fellow participant. Duh, I knew it was going to happen eventually. I mean, it's a small cosmos of society. They don't even vet them that much, and they stick them all in a house together. You might as well just stick the predators with the victims. I mean, it's ridiculous. So a former contestant on Spain's edition of Big Brother has been sentenced to 15 months jail after a sexual assault on a fellow participant. So Jose Maria Lopez, or Maria, I don't know, assaulted the female contestant on November 17th at a party on the reality show. An act which saw him kicked out of the Big Brother house. So, retrospectively, doing something about it is not helpful. But anyway, it's unclear whether Lopez will serve any jail time, as people who are sentenced to a term under 2 years and have no criminal record are sometimes exempt from going behind bars in Spain. They must be trying to limit the amount of people that are behind bars in Spain. Yes, so that's really sad. So this week, a judge said that Lopez was driven by a lustful impulse. How about you're just a dirtbag? And knew the victim was in a drunken stupor. Because a drunken yes is still a no. Lopez is said to have taken the victim's trousers off while the pair shared a bed before making sexual movements under the duvet. Lopez and the victim were in a relationship in the house prior to the attack, but like I said, a drunken yes is still a no. It is not consent. You cannot give consent when you are inebriated. That's why a drunken yes is still a no. And for all of those people who will just be screaming at me right now, and I can't hear you because you're like, not here, and this is not live, but for all the people who are getting all upsetty spaghetti saying that, oh, what about him? He was drunk too. Yes, that's my point. Neither of them can consent. Therefore, neither of them should be doing anything. That is my point. That is what I'm saying, and I'm sticking to it. But like I said, if you don't like my opinions, then jog on. Or swipe on. Whatever. He claims to have not known that she was unconscious. I mean, the non-moving should have been a giant giveaway. A 4-year restraining order was additionally imposed on Lopez, and he's not allowed to contact the victim during this time. And I know a lot of you will be saying, as if he would. No, they do. I've seen him. Trying to talk her out of it, trying to say, oh, but, I'm in love with you and stuff like that. There's very blurry lines sometimes when it comes to this stuff. He's been ordered to pay her £6,000 or euros or $9,767 Australian. Yep, that sounds right. In compensation. Just some quick maths in my head there, guys. Footage of the sexual assault never aired on the show, but the morning following the party, producers called the female contestant into the diary room. There she was forced to watch the abuse to keep it from the others, because she had to choose, because they were just making sure that she was aware of what had happened, because they were worried because she was unconscious and not moving. So I'm glad that they did that for her. Her reaction was filmed but never aired on the show either. She reported the incident to the police in 2018. The show's handling of the incident came under heavy scrutiny in 2018 when Spanish news website El Confidencial released footage of the moment producers showed the victim the assault video. As part of the judge's ruling for the Spanish production company, Zeppelin Television SA was ordered to pay the victim a compensation for moral damage caused by not providing enough support, which goes back to my earlier comment on it not being a safe space, where it should be. But, why did no one do anything about it, is my question. Why, if they were watching it, saw that her not moving, did they not go in and interrupt straight away? Why did they wait till the next morning? Anyway, I digress, and I'll get off on my soapbox in a minute if I start. So as part of the judge's ruling, anyway, that's what they had to do. So Big Brother began in the Netherlands in 1999 and had 14 seasons have aired on Australian television. I know it was a lot. I never watched any of it. I think I watched the first season part of it, and then I was like, this is just sad, and it's just a tragedy waiting to happen. It looks like I was right. For the show's camera crews, documentation of people's lives and cohabiting in the purposeful built house for several weeks. Yeah, where they're filmed all of the time. So if you know anyone who's in need of a crisis, please call the National Sexual Assault Hotline and Domestic Family Violence Counselling Service on 1-800-RESPECT. And I know that I've harped on about that today, but I really feel like it's important. And as you can see, I've transitioned this to a light cream. This is like a light pinky cream, and this is like a light yellow cream, so that it's the closest colour I could find. And hopefully it's just a part of the process. I just have to keep telling myself that because I have OCD, and it's really frustrating me that these colours are slightly different. Just the hues are slightly different. Anyway, like I said, I'm sorry that I keep harping on about sexual assault and making sure that people are safe, but the problem with society, or one of the problems with society, I believe, is that we don't make this stuff known and we don't support people when they need the most support. I just realised that this pink is actually closer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's finished now. I am done with that bit. And I am done with this story. So I'm moving on to the next round of colours. Let's go. Alrighty, this last one is again not Australian but the US. However, I thought it was super important that I talk about it today because it's interesting and I have been talking about it on my lives. So if anyone has been watching my lives over on TT, also known as TikTok, then you will know what it is exactly that I am talking about. If not, then please head over and watch my lives when I am on live and I shall enlighten you, dear friends. But this story is one of those stories. So recently I was watching Netflix. I know. I'm so mature. I was watching a Netflix documentary about a woman who was called, I think the documentary, there we go. But that's all, folks. The documentary is called, oh, now I can't remember it. Anyway, it's about the trial of Laurie Vallow Daybell, who was a doomsday prepper mum and former Mormon before she gave up that faith to follow this other twat muffin and be madly in love with him, apparently. But today there marks an update of it. So basically, the long version of the story that I was telling on my live, I'll try and give you a quick brief update. So she was a highly religious woman who very much loved her children, apparently, and was happily married, not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's fine. Each to their own. She was married. She had her first son, and then several years later had her daughter to another husband, and then 10 years after that had a son to her third husband. She was, by all reports, a very good mother. She left her second husband after her oldest son had disclosed to her some sexual assault at the hands of his stepfather. So she got that child out of there ASAP, got married a second time, and took the daughter from that marriage and her older son with her and moved back to her hometown, where she met her third husband and had a loving child with that third husband named JJ. JJ had some highly autistic traits and was, by all accounts, a very boisterous, robust, and rambunctious child, but loved by everybody, including his grandparents, who loved him dearly. And then she suddenly started acting batshit crazy. So she messaged her oldest son when he was in college, just after he got married, and was messaging him saying, you should ignore your stepfather, whose last name was Vallow, because he has cheated on me, and he has been cheating on me for years, and he's making up stories about me now to cover his cheating. So the son, who was obviously very loyal to his mother and had no reason to doubt her, accepted that on blind faith. So he started ignoring the phone calls from his stepfather, even though his stepfather was ringing him for a very good reason. The stepfather ends up sending him an email saying that he's worried for the mother's health because she's been quoting scripture following this new pastor that has nothing to do with her religion. She was a Mormon and had nothing to do with that. And then he was thinking, oh yeah, sure, he's just saying that because he's trying to get back in my good graces, yada, 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 make me worried about my mum. So basically, he ignores him. They get a divorce, his mother and his stepfather, Vallow, and he fights for custody for his son. He tries to get her committed and has her evaluated, but she's very good, and she's a narcissist. So she's very good at pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. And you actually see in the documentary this footage of her being like super charming to police officers where they just think he's batshit crazy, she's the sane one, and they don't really listen to him. Anyway, she convinces her brother Alex to come and live with her for a little while because she is quote unquote scared of her ex-husband, who's never been violent to her in the past, but she's now claiming that he is violent and a cheater and all of this jazz. Anyway, so the police are called to the scene the very next day. So her brother stays over at her house for one night, and then the very next day the police are called to the scene where the brother is sitting at the front of the house, bleeding from his head, and claiming that Vallow had come to take JJ to school because JJ had a specifically really bad day. Anyone who has an autistic child or a non-functioning autistic child will understand that even a high needs autistic child or low needs autistic child sometimes has tantrums, and they just only want one person. Well, in this day, he only wanted his dad, and he wanted his dad to take him to school. So his dad, being a good dad, drove over there to take his son to school, even though he wasn't talking with his ex-wife, and she was being quite hostile and quite rude with him. So that's where we're at. He goes to her house, according to the brother, to pick up the son and starts an argument. He said that he put JJ in the car and then went back inside because he'd forgotten or misplaced his phone when he'd gone to the toilet. When he came back inside, his ex-wife, Laurie, had taken his phone and was complaining and making some complaints and wouldn't give it back, and she was inducing an argument. Now, their oldest daughter and his stepdaughter, for the last 10 years, came running out with a baseball bat. This is according to the daughter, because she heard her mother yelling and she heard her stepfather screaming, her ex-stepfather screaming, and she was concerned for her mother's safety. So she came running out with the baseball bat. When she saw it was her stepdad, she put the baseball bat down because she's like, he's not going to hurt anyone. Well, he took the baseball bat out of her hands, according to her, and placed it on the floor. According to Laurie, she then left the house and went to take JJ to school because JJ was going to be late, taking the daughter with them. On the way to the car, she heard 2 gunshots being fired. This is according to Laurie. And she didn't want to go back inside, so she didn't. Instead, she sent her 16-year-old daughter back inside to get her wallet, instructing her not to look anywhere, just go straight, make a beeline for the bedroom, grab her wallet, and come back out, which she did. She complied. Then they dropped off JJ and went to a drive-thru for a coffee and came back to the police. So obviously the brother had called the police in the meantime, and the brother was sitting out the front when the police arrived with laceration to his head, like I said. He made claims that the ex-husband came for him with a baseball bat, smacking him in the back of the head. He had stayed the night, and he had a concealed weapon, concealed to carry. So he went to the room where he was sleeping, obtained the weapon, and shot him twice. In that short period of time, apparently, from going outside, from her going and putting JJ in taking JJ to school, just going out the front. So that's the update on that story. Then, after she finds out that she is no longer the beneficiary on her ex-husband's life insurance, but his mother is, she takes the children, the 2 youngest children, and moves to Arizona with this pastor dude who thinks he's the second coming of Jesus. I'm not even kidding. So this second coming of Jesus, whatever his name is, I forget it right now, but I'll probably remember it later. He had killed his wife, but his wife had died in suspicious circumstances, apparently, and they couldn't find her cause of death, so she was buried. He did have life insurance for her. He was the beneficiary, so he had some money, and they ran off to Arizona or wherever they ran off to. And then the older brother, Kobe, I think that's his name. Yeah, he constantly texted his sister because his sister was a 16-year-old girl, so she had a phone. She was like texting her brother on like non-stop. She was madly in love with her brother, as siblings are. We love each other, but we also hate each other. So they were texting each other backwards and forwards, you know, how you doing, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden, about a month into the exchanges, her text messages changed. They changed in sentence structure, and they changed in capitalization, and they changed in punctuation, which was super strange because he's like, she was a typical teenager. She used, you know, she talked in emojis and GIFs and stuff like that. Typical teenage stuff. So when she was starting to write full sentences with proper grammar and proper structure, he was like, who the hell is this? He literally wrote in a text, this is not my sister. Where is my sister? So the person, when he confronted them, didn't answer him back at all, and didn't bother with answering the phone every time he tried to call. So he calls his mother and he says to his mother, hey, what's happening? Where is my sister? And where's JJ, my younger brother? And she says, they're fine, they're healthy, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, JJ's grandparents, biological grandparents, and the parents of the slain husband call police in Arizona because they want them to do a checkup, it's like a check just to make sure that they're okay and that they're alive and that they're healthy and safe. So the police turn up to this address that she has given the parents-in-law, and they find the pastor in one room with her brother, Alex, and her in another room. When they asked them how he knew Alex and her, he said that they were part of his church. They'd only met her a couple of times through Alex, that Alex was his friend, Alex being her brother, yada, 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 and just lied, said he didn't have her number and so forth. And then anyway, after like hours of bullshit, the police finally got her number from him, and they made contact with her, and she said that her son, didn't mention anything about the daughter because they were only after the son at this time, was staying at her friend's house. And then they made the police obviously went to go investigate that. And they made a phone call to the friend saying, when the police come around to talk to you, we told them that he's staying at your house because I don't want them to know where he really is, and yada, yada, yada. And the friend was like, you're not a very good friend. Like, I'm not lying for you. He's not here. So they were really upset as spaghetti about that. And the two of them, the pastor and Laurie, escaped to some sort of freaking beach somewhere and got married. Then they were asked to produce the children because obviously the grandparents weren't going to let that go and weren't going to let that fly, and the police were now invested because they were like, well, where is this kid? If they're safe, why can't you produce them? So they gave them a final date for the producing of this child. For both children, actually, at this point, because now they had figured out that both children were missing. Long story short, she didn't produce the children and she was arrested for non-compliance with the law or something along those lines. Because they didn't know that the children were no longer alive, and they hadn't been for one of them for about 2 weeks after they moved, and one of them for about a month after they moved. So this is what I was saying on my live the other day. I just thought I would get you guys caught up. Anyway, so now I am at where I was in my live. So all in all, they had both been arrested after the police found two very shallow graves in the back of a piece of property owned by this pastor, after her brother Alex had unalived himself, after he had a discussion with his wife about how he was feeling guilty about something. He didn't want to tell her because he didn't want her to feel ashamed of him, and how the two of them, Laurie and the pastor, were going to pin the blame on him. Well, that was his impression, Alex's impression. So Alex unalived himself. So I think we can say that he is guilty of, at the very least, killing her husband, And since he was the last person to be seen alive with both of the children, he more than likely also murdered them or was part of their murder. So Laurie hasn't been able to face court because she still won't acknowledge that the children are dead, and she's absolutely batshit crazy. And I mean that. They have actually declared her unable to stand trial. So when I opened up my phone today and I saw this lovely story and an update, I was like, oh my God, what a quinky dink. I need to tell my lovely patrons of my channel all about it. Why not? I mean, I do talk about crime, and this is a doozy. I know it's not Australian, but it's still a doozy. Alrighty, so without further ado, I'll give you the actual update. So, the only surviving child of a woman charged with the murders of her two youngest children and her romantic rival confronted his mother about his sibling's death in an emotional phone call played for jurors in a US court. The trial of Laurie Vallow Daybell touched on claims of evil spirits, zombie children, and additional murder charges from another state. So she had apparently killed her children because she believed they had been taken over by zombies and that they wouldn't survive the upcoming apocalypse that was going to happen in 2020. So now that it's 2023, I can safely say there was no apocalypse. So prosecutors played the call shortly after Kobe Ryan, Vallow Daybell's oldest child, took the stand in a bizarre triple murder case in Idaho, because they were originally from Idaho, moved to Arizona, and then moved back to Idaho for the trial. So the call was made after the bodies of Ryan's siblings, Joshua, JJ, Vallow, and Tylee Ryan, were found buried on an eastern estate in an Ohio yard in 2020. After Vallow Daybell was jailed in connection with the crimes. So, it starts with Ryan asking his mother if she thought she could keep hiding from him. "I'm not hiding," she said. "Why would you think I am hiding?" was her response. Because you murdered my siblings, you crazy bitch. Probably because you murdered my siblings. Maybe you should understand, Ryan continued before his mother interrupted, saying, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Ugh, she's one of those people. I'm sorry you feel that way. No, I don't feel that way. They're the facts, love. The facts are you killed my siblings. The call continued for several minutes, with Vallow Daybell insisting that Ryan couldn't know what happened because he wasn't there, but that JJ and Tylee were happy and all would become clear in the afterlife. At least she's acknowledging that they're dead now. But Ryan said that his mother lied to him on multiple times while his brother and sister were missing, with someone even sending him texts from his sister's phone as if they were from Tylee. To know that you're gone and you knew, and my phone was being texted to by my little sister, who wasn't even alive, Ryan said, raising his voice, because he's getting emotional, guys, and it's emotional. My poor brother, who was the sweetest of all little kids, for what purpose? You tell me this is God's will for my whole family, including my stepfather, to be dead. Poor guy. Prosecutors say that Vallow Daybell is is her fifth husband. I thought it was her third husband. There you go. Chad, that's his name. What a Chad. Chad Daybell. Strange doomsday-focused husband's beliefs involved demonic possession and zombies to further their agendaed plan to kill the kids and his previous wife, Tammy Daybell. So he killed Tammy Daybell and the kids. She got her brother to kill her ex-husband and the kids. Sorry, he was still her husband at the time of the death. They were still legally married. Estranged husband. They're also accused of collecting life insurance money for nearly $6,000 a month for the kids' social security and survivor benefits due to the death of their fathers. So Tylee's father, Joe Ryan, died in 2018, and JJ's father, Charles Vallow, died in 2019. JJ was 7 years old and Tylee was just a few days shy of her 17th birthday when the kids were last seen alive in September 2019. Their bodies were found buried in Chad Daybell's yard the following June. Tammy Daybell, his ex-wife, his dead wife, died in October of 2019, just 2 weeks before Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell married. An autopsy later determined that she had been asphyxiated, which is more information than I had earlier this week, because I thought they still didn't know the determination of her death. So there you go. Both have pled not guilty to murder, conspiracy, and grand theft charges, and they are being tried separately, which is good. Daybell's trial is still months away, as they can't really trial him yet until they accumulate all of their stuff. Vallow Daybell has been charged in Arizona in connection with the death of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. And he was shot and killed by Vallow Daybell's brother, Alex Cox, outside the Phoenix home in July of 2019. Cox told police the shooting was in self-defense and he was never charged in the case because he died of natural causes later that year. I was under the impression he unalived himself, so there we go. Vallow Daybell has not yet made the opportunity to enter a plea in the Arizona case. Earlier in the trial, former friends of Vallow Daybell told jurors about the couple's purported spiritual beliefs, which included the idea that evil spirits could take over a person's body, forcing that person's soul out and turning them into quote-unquote walking zombies. So she was under the impression, apparently, according to her beliefs, that her children were no longer in possession of their bodies, that their souls were already left their bodies, and that's why she murdered her children. Apparently. Vallow Daybell called JJ and Tylee zombies several times before they died, she told investigators. They recorded a phone call seemed to some days before Daybell's belief, with Ryan telling his mother he was praying for her and warning her against blasphemy. In response, Vallow Daybell laughed, "I love you, I always will, and one day you will see, one day you will understand." Vallow Daybell told her son in the call and said his dead siblings were fine. "They love me and they're fine. You can go ahead and judge me all day long," was what she said. So that's absolutely tragic. I still don't have any information about when they'll be charged or when they will be going to trial, but I hope that it is soon. And I hope that when she does die, that God does not forgive her. Which is the most horrible thing that I can say about anybody. So, yeah. Sins of the Mother. That's what it was called. Sins of Our Mother is the Netflix show that I was watching. You're welcome. You're welcome. Alrighty, that is it for me for the day. I'm going to finish this last round and then I will upload these videos. And I will see you tomorrow. I thank you so much for your support and I hope that you like and share and like. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.